Mark,
Cassie,
I had to make a really tough choice recently.
tell
It was
me.
rough. I was invited to lead the May year long.
Cool.
I love leading workshops, I do, but the year long has been my home where I go and be
Mm,
me and ask my questions and sit in my workshop seat and raise my
mm,
hand. And for years,
yeah,
at least 10,
nice. Yeah.
10 years. And now I'm making the transition into leading the workshop. And I have to tell you, I feel a little sad, like
Wow.
excited for sure, but there's a sadness around the loss of being in a different position in that room.
hmm Yeah, it's so good to be in the good seats.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
But such consistent focus, consistent progress, amazing support by people just like you and I, right? Somebody that's got your back and advocating for the best of you. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, the every year, I can say consistently, every single year has gotten better than the last, right? So it doesn't even matter the topic,
yeah.
right? It's just that consistency of practice of being there every month and raising my hand and then watching all my friends around me transform, like watching year after year after year. And there's something that happens for sure in me when I see somebody do something, have the tough conversation
Yeah.
or something that they've been working on for years. And I go, it helps me own my growth as well. Like I go, oh yeah, I remember when I used to feel like that too. And um, and there's a like my story gets rewritten even as I listen to other people during the year
Yeah.
long from that seat, right? From the good seat.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. Yet to see, well, for me, it's hanging out in that environment. I get inspired.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I mean, over a year, my energy, my excitement, my believability, my commitment, the amount of time that I give, it's not constant.
Right.
So sometimes I'm much more into it and other times not. And so coming back in that level of frequency, I mean, not only in the year long do we have those, that's a monthly meeting, but then we have small groups, maybe as much as that I'm connecting to my learning on a weekly basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then it's just so much harder to backslide. I can go unconscious, but at least I'm not that unconscious for that long. So
Right.
as a result, I'm just the steps forward and the progress and the pace of the progress.
Yes.
And I'm with you. I mean, it's been 15 years in a row for me. And frankly, it's like I can't really imagine not being in year longs and having that degree of structure and support and frequency.
Totally. And you just made me think of something else I really cherish about your longs, which is um, even when I resist the process, right? Where my mind comes up with all kinds of reasons, like, oh, I can't go, I've got this thing going on, I can't make it to that phone call, but because I have a meeting, right? Because I'm going to show up next month and they're going to ask me, like, how was the last month? I'm going to look at that from a completely different point of view than if I was to just go on with life and be like, well, I'm busy and there's stuff going on. Once I show up in that room and I look at like, oh man, look at that reason or that story that I was creating, I can see what I was resisting. And that lands in me in a totally different way than if that backstop wasn't there, right?
Mm,
That
yeah,
structure wasn't there to support me in looking that way.
yeah. I've had exactly the same experience. I've had the exact same experience countless times. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, there's year longs in general, and then as you said, you are stepping in to facilitate this upcoming May in this living in appreciation,
Yeah.
which for me, I think I've shared with you before, is one of the most impactful year-long workshops that I've ever participated in. This is I freaking love it. And I think about, for me, this idea of appreciation as being the antidote for almost any dis-ease
Mhm.
that exists within me, and knowing that we're talking about something very different than acting in appreciation, right? Getting there, or thinking appreciation in being or
Mm,
living in a state of appreciation are two very different things. And
mm,
that bar that the year long raised and then called me to that bar and to address everything that was in the way or needed to be developed and strengthened in order to clear that bar.
Yeah.
That was some serious work. I was personally surprised. Like, oh yeah, living appreciation, this would be great. And then I got in there, I was like,
I have full body chills.
We doing some work in here. So, I mean, and then the other side, myself in November, I'll be facilitating EQ mastery. And
Oh yeah.
I mean, EQ is the basis of so much of our work. And I can't, between self-management and self-awareness and empathy and social, awareness of others and influence and vision. I mean, what in my life doesn't connect to emotional intelligence?
And the depth, the layers of depth in emotional intelligence. I walked into that year long thinking, oh, I am self-aware. I've got self-control. I am socially intelligent, right? Like I can totally, and the experiences month after month after month had me see where I was in relationship to those things and how far I could go, that I was excited about, right? Because I saw exactly what you're talking about, how much my emotional intelligence impacted my relationships, my choices, what I saw as possible, what I thought was available to me, and in anything that I wanted to do going forward. Right? It blew the cap off of what I imagined as possible for me, because I realized that I could feel more, I could handle more than what me at the beginning of that year long thought I could.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll wrap up here in a moment, but what you remind me of is one of the things I love about year longs. It's a space to practice.
Yeah.
In other workshops, I take the workshop, come home, and then I'm in my life to practice. But here I have a community that knows what I'm practicing and is supportive of the practice, actually holds me accountable to the practice.
Yeah.
And I get to practice and have this arc over an entire year.
Yeah.
And it's so, which sometimes I don't have a vision or a model to work off of. So now I'm in a high functioning peer group where they do provide models. We can brainstorm some of these things. And then not only do I get this idea, but then it's like, let's go bring it into reality. Let's go be that. Let's go execute that in the moment. And it's now, because it happens, I have an example, and then I can replicate that anywhere that I want in my life. I mean, it's just such a huge, I understand as we're talking about this, why I freaking love year long so much.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you said it that way, because that word practice really hit me, right? And even what you said about appreciation and raising up my level and holding me accountable to something that I didn't see that was available for me, right?
Yeah.
That even in this tough choice where I'm really faced with, okay, this seat that I cherish so much, where I'm sitting among all of my friends, right? All of my family that I get to see month after month after month after month, that really the practice is being in the room.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what seat I'm in that room. I get to be in that room with people that are looking at themselves that way and looking at each other that way, and that we get to keep coming back to that practice over and over and over again. And that is something that I feel really grateful for, no matter where I'm sitting in that room, even if I'm just an assistant in the back of the room getting water for somebody, right? Or, I just want to be in the room. So thanks for bringing me back to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm excited about what's to come as we kick off in May and living in appreciation. Very excited for then. I got to wait a little longer, but EQ Mastery will be here before we know it. I'm really excited. Our clients are going to be so blessed by having you step into the facilitation role.
Thank you.
So it's awesome. And, I want to wrap this up by saying my belief is, we're talking about you and I and us as participants. And yes, we're also facilitators, but we sit in the same, our commitment to our learning and we're just like our clients.
Yeah.
And that's why we put ourselves in workshops and do.
I promise that I won't forget I'm also a student.
No, of course you won't. Of course you won't. We could take it out of you if we tried.
Yeah, totally.
So we'll see. I wonder who comes to join us in these workshops. It'll really be a pleasure to be part of their journey, as you said, to be in the room no matter what seat that we're sitting in.
Right.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Cassie, this is fun.
This is fun. Okay, cool. Right on. I feel good.